On the Autocar show today, we get our hands on the Volkswagen GTI, then take a spin in the new Jaguar XF, and just how capable are the Moto Guzzi V9s.
Well, it's an exciting story here on the Autocar show today, but you're probably wondering, why am I standing here with two pretty similar looking cars? Well, there are differences. You notice them right up front from the lamps. The other car has got the LEDs, this has the slatted grills, that has the honeycomb, but it's on the side that you notice the big change. This is a two-door, not a four-door car, and that pretty much gives the game away, but it's really at the back. Then you know why, because this is the Volkswagen GTI, and that's what we're going to drive on the Autocar show today. So this is not where the biggest difference is. Whilst the regular Polo GT TSI we know has a 1.2-litre engine with 103 bhp, the GTI gets the Octavia's 1.8-litre unit with power bumped up to 192 HP and 250 Nm of torque. The biggest difference is here behind the wheels. Put your foot to the floor and you know exactly what it is. I mean, it's just responsive immediately off the line. There's this nice shove of torque and it just flies up the revs. It's a free revving engine. The needle on the rev counter climbs easily to the red line and the 100 comes up in just 7.2 seconds, which makes it seriously quick. Extend your right foot and there's bound to be a big smile across your face. This is one hard pass. On the flip side, when you have to cut through traffic, it takes a little getting used to. Small dabs on the accelerator make the gearbox shift down, and as a result you get a sudden surge of acceleration. But once you get used to the way it works, you can make overtakes and nip in and out of traffic gaps with a sense of confidence, knowing that the power will be served up every time you flex your right foot. The gearbox as well is really good. It's quick, it responds fast. It's pretty aggressive when you put your foot flat to the floor. You feel the shift, but you've got power exactly when you want it. And I think the engine and gearbox really work very well together. Shift it into sport and it holds the gear nicely to the red line. In fact, even in the regular auto mode, the gearbox adapts itself to your driving style. If you're driving at a quick pace, it shifts down quicker and sharper, flipping the throttle once it senses you've been putting pedal to metal. Drive it leisurely and the shifts are smoother and more spaced apart. Find a nice windy section of road, use the paddles to extract just that little bit more fun. Levels of grip are just amazing. And the steering too, it's well weighted, it's meaty, and it offers you just the right amount of feedback that you want from the tires. Inspires oodles of confidence to go with the amount of power this car has. Though it's not edgy and the nose doesn't dive into corners eagerly, it still goes around corners in such a sure-footed manner that you carry a good amount of speed around the bends with ease. The 215 tires leach onto the road and don't let go, and it's only when you get overly aggressive on quick direction changes does the GTI break traction. But a slight switch and it settles right back. Yes, this is fun to drive up a winding section of road. When you get in initially, you'll find the brakes a bit grabby and it takes a little while to get used to them. But when you want to slow down in a hurry, you'll find that they are just spot on. It's all four-wheel disc brakes and they work extremely well. In fact, with the amount of power in this little hatch, it's a reassuring feeling to know that the brakes are so good. Now this is the India package, so there are some changes to the setup. We get the 16-inch wheels as standard. You can opt for the 17-inch ones too. It's not as low to the ground as the European spec, and even the setup is a little softer, so you do get a little bit of that vertical movement. A slightly shorter, firmer setup would have been better. But having said that, ride quality is surprisingly pliant, and the GTI, even in higher speeds, feels composed enough. It must be said, though, that this is really not a car to be sitting in the back seat. This is one to be enjoyed from behind the wheel. The GTI on the inside carries the tartan upholstery with the red double-stitching accents across the cabin and even edging on the map. The sportier pedals and the steering with the GTI logo lets you know what this car is all about. The dials are different to the regular car with the numbering in a different font, and the temperature gauge and fuel counter in analog versions nestles inside the rev counter and the odometer. The infotainment screen is different too and larger, but there's no rear view cam and only sensors. Yes, in this expensive a car you expect a little more, and you missed a few features that could easily have been there. Well, as you've seen, I've had a smile on my face all day. There's no two ways about it. This car is fun. It's involving, and it's one of the best driver's cars around. It definitely ticks all the right boxes. But here's the thing. It drives like a bomb. But at 25.99 lakh ex-showroom Delhi, it also costs a bomb. So this is not something that you can rationalize. This is not something you buy with your head. It's something you buy with your heart.
Have a look through the all-new Jaguar XF expansive brochure, and three traits of the car will stand out about it. One, that it's larger, the second, that it's lighter, and the third, that it's more luxurious than the car it replaces. This all-new XF is longer than all its rivals. Its body shell, that uses more aluminium than before, is 190 kgs lighter, which promises better dynamics and better efficiency. And thirdly, there seems to be a greater emphasis on comfort than before. In all, the XF promises to be a more rounded package and one that should have wider appeal. Is it so? Let's see it in a bit more detail to find out. This is a Jag, so pardon me for getting straight to the driving bits. Again, this being a Jag, I'm most keen on the more powerful of the two versions on sale. It's the one with the familiar 4-cylinder 2-liter turbo petrol unit that already does duty in many of Jaguar Land Rover's other models. Except on the XF, it's only available in the higher of its two states of tune, one that gets you 240 horsepower and 340 Newton meters. That's a near 60 horsepower jump over the petrol versions of the A6, 5 Series and E-Class. Straight off the bat, this version of the XF certainly feels faster than all its petrol 4-cylinder rivals. Flat-out performance is strong, and what makes this engine exciting is that there's power even in the upper region of the rev band. Driven hard, this engine also sounds rather exciting. It lets out a racing snarl that gives a fitting soundtrack for the last 2000 RPM of the rev band. Smash down on the throttle pedal and the 8-speed gearbox will shift down as many gears as required to get you into the heart of the power band. The only thing is that when you do so, you will note that this is not quite the fastest of 8-speed gearboxes around. Still, you can get around the issue by using the paddle shifters. In fact, keep the gear selector in S and you can rev the engine all the way till 6,500 RPM and hold rev. Just one of those things that adds that last bit of excitement. And it's fast too. A 7.62 second 0 to 100 kph time not only makes the XF quicker than all its 4-cylinder petrol competitors, but also a second quicker than the old XF with the same engine. There are 4 drive modes to alter the driving experience. On twisty and windy roads, you know the mode to be in. It's in dynamic mode that the XF really comes alive. The steering is superb. Jaguar has absolutely nailed it. It's an electrically assisted unit, mind you, but it's got lots of feel. The XF, yes, it does feel like a big car from behind the wheel, but turning is sharp, there's good levels of grip, and body movements are really well contained. You can actually throw this big car into corners and come out smiling. Unquestionably, the 50-50 front-to-rear weight distribution also comes into play to let you make the most of the rear-wheel drive XF's abilities. The sportiest of the large luxury sedans, it might just be. Thankfully, the sportiness does not come at the cost of ride quality. The XF feels nice and tight down at typical cruising speeds, and it's also quite absorbent of our potholes. It's just that on sharper bumps, you can tell that there is a bit of that typical European firmness that we get. Still, there are a few negatives to speak of too.
In day-to-day driving conditions, the XF's weaknesses are centered around refinement. There is more road noise than you'd like, and the engine is also not absolutely quiet. You can hear the engine at idle, and it also grumbles at middle revs.
Let's now switch focus to the diesel. The new Ingenium diesel unit is of particular interest because it's slated to replace the existing 2.2-litre unit across Jaguar Land Rover's India range. And thanks to the engine's 1999cc displacement, it's a safe bet should there be any future ban on the sale of 2-litre plus diesel units. So, what's it like?
Bring the XF's diesel engine to life, and you will hear a clatter from the engine bay. It's not particularly loud, but you can hear it. Get moving, and noise levels are fine. It's just that when you press down hard on the accelerator, you hear a boom from the engine as the note gets a bit coarse. So this is not the most refined of diesel engines.
However, at typical mild throttle speeds, engine noise levels are perfectly acceptable. In fact, the engine works quite well in everyday conditions. You have sufficient power low down in the rev range, and when you ask for more, you do get it.
Like the XF petrol, the diesel one also gets 4 driving modes, and of course, if you have to have some fun, you have to switch to dynamic, get the gear selector to S mode, and take control via the pedals. Using the pedals, you can really make the most of the engine's power. You can keep it right in the meat of the power band, and when you do so, the overall feeling is that this is a pretty strong engine. It may not rev as quickly as the modern BMW or Audi unit, but the overall feeling is that it is strong and offers performance just when you want it.
You can rev the engine to 4900 RPM or so in manual mode, but best progress is made between 2000 to 4200 RPM. We recorded a 0 to 100 kph time of 9.04 seconds, which makes the diesel XF slower than rivals, but truth is, from behind the wheel, it doesn't feel so. In fact, on a good driving day, you'll probably make note of the engine's good mid-range punch rather than the lack of outright performance. Time to take a close look at the XF's cabin. Well, there's good and bad news, and let's lay down the downer first. The cabin as a whole doesn't quite have that wow factor. It's good on design and quality, no doubt about that, but it's not what you'd call opulent, at least by latest class standards. Take the dashboard for instance. It is well trimmed and the layered look is smart, but the design and layout don't quite break new ground. Elsewhere, there are a few hard plastics, and bits like the buttons for the windows lack the richness we've seen in the newer lot of Mercs and Audis. It's not subpar by any standard, but Jag's rivals have taken the game forward in this respect. But as a first point of contact, the XF's front seats do work brilliantly, especially the sumptuous perforated leather ones on the top-spec portfolio cars. The rear seat, that's a different matter, and that's all thanks to the 51mm longer wheelbase.
Where the new XF has improved over the older car is in rear seat comfort. There's more legroom on offer, the seating position is nicer, and cushioning in general is much better judged. However, this is still a place best for two, and that's thanks to the high center tunnel that really eats into middle passenger legroom. Also, taller passengers might have some shortage of headroom.
What's also quite disappointing is that there is no dedicated climate control for the rear seats. The XF Petrol is available in 2 trims, while the XF Diesel is available in 3 trims. And it must be said that the best of goodies have been reserved for the pricey portfolio versions. Leading the list of things that make the portfolios desirable are the excellent 825-watt Meridian sound system and the impressive InControl Touch Pro infotainment system. The InControl Touch Pro unit is operated via a sizable 10.2-inch touchscreen and scores really well for usability. Multiple cameras, park assist, and configurable ambient lighting are also exclusive to the portfolio cars. Also nice is the portfolio's 12.3-inch fully digital instrument cluster. On to how the XF looks. For a near 5-meter long car, the new XF is handsome and the low bonnet high boot stance works well. The thing is, the look is very familiar and the second gen XF doesn't immediately stand out as an all-new car. To us, that's a bit of a shame. Also worth pointing out is that the wheel size has a big bearing on the XF's appearance. The top specs 18 inches work really well, but the smaller 17-inch rims make the lower versions look decidedly cut price. Detailing throughout the car though is nice, especially the J-Blade DRLs up front and the very F-type like LED highlights on the taillights. All said, how interested should you be in the XF? If you drive yourself, like the buzz of being in control of a strong petrol engine and value handling finesse more than plastic finish, the XF Petrol is the luxury sedan for you. It is the most rewarding petrol car to drive in the segment, this side of the mad V8 versions. And while the diesel XF isn't a standout performer, it more than gets the job done too. However, Jaguar's pricing strategy could be a stumbling block for many. Base trim cars don't get much equipment, while the portfolios come across as pricey, even in a segment where buying budgets are traditionally flexible. There is also the sense that the XF could have been made more special still. Yes, the new XF betters the older model in key areas and is a far more rounded luxury car. But in the big picture, the XF comes across as a car that seems to have taken a few steps forward rather than one giant Jaguar-like leap.
Italian motorcycles don't get more exotic than Moto Guzzi. Now, the company's big cruisers have been available in India for the last couple of years, and honestly, we have liked them quite a lot. Now it's the turn of their mid-size offering, the V9. The V9 is not actually one bike but two, or the two flavors of the same bike, the V9 Roamer and the V9 Bobber. And mechanically they might be fairly identical, but they offer very different riding experiences. Retro styling is the name of the game, and the V9 certainly has a lot of hipster appeal. The wide flat tank is shared between the two bikes, but the Bobber gets matte paint and some racy decals along with lots of blacked out details. The Roamer, on the other hand, is all about the chrome. While build quality is top notch all around, switchgear plastics feel a bit low budget, and funnily enough, the fuel filler cap isn't lockable. The instrument cluster feels a bit basic as well. However, the bikes do get a USB charger. All things considered though, these two really are a pair of lookers. Now both these bikes have the same slightly forward set foot pegs. However, the short and flat handlebar on the Bobber means it gets a slightly more aggressive riding posture. On the other hand, the Roamer gets nice, tall and wide handlebars much like a cruiser, but unlike a cruiser, the seat height on the Roamer is a little bit on the higher side. And while ergonomics overall are quite comfortable on both the bikes, some riders will have a problem where their knees and shins can make contact with the engine cylinder heads which stick out on either side. And speaking of the engine, the V9s get an 850cc V12 motor that's mounted in a traditional Moto Guzzi transverse manner. This configuration puts the cylinder head directly into the wind, so there's no real need for liquid cooling. Power and torque figures aren't very impressive though, with this air-cooled 2 valve per cylinder mill putting out 55 HP and 62 Newton meters. But in the interest of safety, this motor does get a 2-stage traction control system that's also switchable. Now the V9s aren't particularly quick, but they aren't slow either. The short stroke motor is quick to rev and has plenty of torque on demand at any RPM. What's especially enjoyable is the precise throttle and that near lag-free response thanks to sharp drive. Even the 6-speed gearbox is a slick shifter when shifting up. However, downshift can be a bit clunky, and good luck finding neutral with the motor running. The only real downside to this motor is vibration, especially when you compare it to its larger siblings. The V9s get conventional telescopic forks up front and a pair of twin shocks at the back. Even with a curb weight of 199 kilos, the bikes are surprisingly nimble and thanks to great mass centralization, feel well balanced while cornering. Now both the V9s are great handling. However, it's the Rover that's a bit quicker to turn into corners thanks to its larger front wheel and slimmer front tire. On the other hand, the Bobber's chunky front tire and the ergonomics ensures that it takes a bit of effort to turn the bike into a corner, but it's the same setup that gives it a lot more confidence and keeps the bike planted when you're cornering. Both bikes are sprung a bit on the stiffer side but handle bigger bumps quite well. It's only the short, sharp bumps which tend to bounce the V9s around a little. And thanks to Brembo brakes up front along with dual channel ABS, braking is very impressive. Not super sharp, but solid and predictable. Now I know words like charm and character get tossed around very easily talking about motorcycles these days, and their meanings can get a little bit lost. But these V9s offer gorgeous design, great build quality and fantastic handling. Yes, they have their flaws, but every time you ride the bikes, they put a big smile on your face. And if that's not charm and character, I don't know what is. Okay, they are a bit on the expensive side at well over 13.5 lakh rupees ex-showroom. And whether they're worth it, well, that's further subjective. However, there is nothing else like these Moto Guzzis, and for that, they certainly deserve your attention.